Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in this world. This is Hejin Lee with a morning update for Bitcoin. I wanted to start out with this MACD of the 4-hour chart of Bitcoin. This is a very beautiful pattern. And just about every point had touched the bottom yellow support line of this symmetrical triangle. So I will ask one question. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and now the fifth touch point has occurred. In which direction do you think MACD will go? Do you think it'll go continue downwards and just crash and Bitcoin goes to zero? Or do you think maybe the next move is for this to come up this way? I think the second will be the more probable. And then after we get here, what do you think might happen? I think there's a good chance for this to take one more dip. And then what? Well, I think after that, price can have a sizable breakout. So what do you think the month of April will consist of? So we are looking at the month of April in this bracket right here. I think by today, it may have already started. We're going to see a bounce, a very nice bounce, maybe back to 9,500 or so, 8,000 something in Bitcoin. Then come back down, maybe revisit the high 7,000. And then we're talking very serious potential for a breakout. And that breakout will occur after touching the yellow bottom support line in a very close proximity to the apex. And that apex will be located right here. Apex is the point where the two lines of a symmetrical triangle cross and intersect. This is it. And even in this, if you look at this from a perspective of buyer and seller activity, from here when it started correcting sizably, there were a lot of sellers and they were just trying to knock down Bitcoin. They recovered and they tried again, recovered and they tried again. But notice how it's traveling well within the confinements of a contracting pair of lines. So a lot of sellers, less sellers, less. They're trying to drive it down again to a new lower low, but I don't think they're going to make it. They're going to give it a one more try in April, maybe the second week of April or so, and try to drive it down. And they're going to run out of steam. What does this mean? This means that the sellers are running out of steam. Get it? Pun intended. So the sellers are weakening. Their power is dissipating. Every time they try to knock Bitcoin down, they become weaker and weaker. And why do they become weaker? Because every time there are sellers firing their bullets and selling what they have in Bitcoin, there become less number of sellers. The population of sellers is decreasing. And that's going to take 5 months, maybe. So there's a great story to be seen from what's already happened here from the perspective of sellers and buyers and what could happen from a forward discernment of probability of future price pathway perspective. So once they come up and they try to give their one final hurrah, try to knock it down, maybe it might even pierce the lower yellow support line. But once that breakout occurs, I believe a rally that would become a sight to behold can be witnessed. All right, now let's put it together with price activity. So here the sellers really did a home run. Poof. They socked it in the solar plex for Bitcoin. They knocked it, boom, down. And that was the activity here. They tried it here, here, and then it rose, price recovered, and now they're doing it again. Every time it recovers, they try to knock it down. And I believe this MACD symmetrical triangle, as long as the yellow support holds against any decisive break downward, will assure in its best ability for the white price pathway to occur on the W correction mode. So the white W correction mode is primary count. The blue is my alternate count, and this line keeps going straight on me. The blue line, the blue W, is the alternate count. Now, I need to make that very clear because I'm seeing some confusions in the comments. The blue is the alternate. But I believe the current modality in pattern and direction of the MACD is favoring very much the white pathway. So what does this mean? It almost means that what happens in the hourly, in the next couple of days, in the 15-minute time frame, it matters none. Because your time scope is much wider than that. And what happens internally within that scope doesn't really matter. It's like a fish out of the water flecking around. I provide a short-term perspective to see how it all fits into the wider scope perspective. That's why I consistently provide short-term and the long-term as well. Short-term does provide and enable one to gain a greater geo-positioning of the account also. So tremendous amount of patience has been required thus far. We may be at the turning point. We'll see. And if we are, we should start seeing, I believe based on this scenario, the MACD will get a bounce and it'll come back down and then it'll rise. All right, I hope you found this to be helpful. Have a wonderful Saturday morning or evening or afternoon, depending on where you might be in this world. More to come.